Close your eyes and listen to the sound of the frontier, the rhythmic thud of horse hooves on sun-baked clay, the distant whistle of a wind that carries nothing but dust, and then the low, rhythmic hum of a town that never sleeps. Welcome back to Vintage Shots. Today, we are going beyond the legends to the raw, unvarnished truth of the Old West Saloon. We are diving deep into a world built on silver, sin, and the broken dreams of those history tried to forget. This is the story of the high-stakes gamble and the soiled doves who paid the ultimate price. Imagine, if you will, the year is 1878. You have just spent 3 grueling months driving cattle across the desert or swinging a pickaxe in a dark, claustrophobic mine. Your pockets are heavy with gold dust, but your soul is starving for a moment of peace. You see a flicker of light on the horizon. A boom town. It's nothing more than a collection of raw timber shacks, but in the center of it all stands the saloon. It was the first sign of civilization, the heartbeat of the West. But don't be fooled by the music. Behind those swinging doors, a different kind of predatory world was waiting to swallow you whole. The saloon wasn't just a bar, it was the town's everything. It was the post office, the courtroom, and the community center. But most importantly, it was a business of vice. Inside, the air was so thick with the smell of cheap tobacco and unwashed bodies you could taste it. The floor was covered in sawdust to soak up the spilled whiskey and the blood. And at the center of this chaos were the women. History often tries to paint them as mere background characters, but the truth is far more dangerous. Let's be blunt. In the lawless West, these women were the soiled doves, prostitutes, outcasts, and the most resilient survivors the frontier ever saw. Look at the vintage photographs and look closely at their eyes. You won't see many smiles. In a world where a woman had no legal rights, no way to own land, and no protection from the law, the red light district was often the only path to a paycheck. They lived in cribs, tiny one-room shacks that were barely large enough for a single bed. It was a life of brutal loneliness, social stigma, and constant physical danger. To survive, a woman had to be tougher than any outlaw. That's why you see that revolver. It wasn't a fashion statement. It was a life insurance policy. In a saloon brawl, the gun was the only thing that ensured she'd see tomorrow's sunrise. The real engine of the saloon, the thing that kept the lights burning until dawn, was the gambling table. In an era where life was cheap and death was around every corner, men played for keeps. Gambling wasn't just a hobby, it was an addiction to the possibility of a new life. While Hollywood loves to show poker, the real king of the frontier was a game called Faro. They called it bucking the tiger. It was fast, it was simple, and it was incredibly easy for the house to cheat. Card sharps would use mirrors, rigged decks, and holdout machines hidden in their sleeves to drain every cent from a tired miner's pocket. The atmosphere was electrified with tension. Every shuffle of the cards, every clink of a glass carried the weight of a man's entire future. You could walk in a rich man and crawl out a pauper in less than an hour. And when the money ran out, the rage began. This is where the women played their most critical role. Their job wasn't just to provide company, it was to keep the men drinking. The more rot-gut whiskey a man consumed, the less he cared about his losses. The women were the house's secret weapon, masters of psychology who knew exactly how to keep a man at the table until his pockets were empty. But life for a soiled dove was a cycle of hardship that few survived for long. Many turned to laudanum, a lethal mixture of opium and alcohol, just to numb the reality of their existence. Yet, within this darkness, a few rose to power. The madams, women like Mattie Silks or Elizabeth Poker Ivers. These weren't just business owners, they were the unspeakable architects of the West's economy. They ran their houses like fortresses, hired their own private security, and held the secrets of every politician and judge in the territory. They knew where the bodies were buried because they often paid for the funerals. The saloon was a place of extremes. It was where the rules of the civilized East simply disappeared. It was a melting pot of ambition, greed, and desperation. Every creak of the floorboard tells a story of a man who lost it all, and every faded image of a woman with a gun tells a story of a survivor who refused to back down. These painted ladies and blacklegs were the real pioneers, the ones who lived in the raw, unpolished truth of the frontier. They provided the vice that fueled the boomtowns, even as the world tried to erase their names from the history books. As we look back at these sepia-toned ghosts, we have to remember the humanity behind the lens. These weren't just characters in a movie. They were daughters, sisters, and mothers who took the only path available to them in a brutal world. Their stories are written in the dust, waiting for someone to finally tell the truth. The Old West wasn't about heroes in white hats. It was about the grit, the gamble, and the iron will to stay alive. The frontier didn't owe you a damn thing. Whether you were holding a pair of aces or a bottle of cheap whiskey, you were on your own. These women lived on the razor's edge, and they paid the price in ways we can barely imagine today. They didn't want glory, they just wanted to survive the night. Drop a comment below and let me know, honestly, would you have survived a night in a lawless 1880s saloon, or would you have been cleaned out before midnight? Don't forget to share the video and subscribe to join the crew here at Vintage Shots. We've got plenty more untold history coming your way. Thanks for riding with us. Stay sharp, watch your six, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Vintage Shots, signing off.